Welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast. I'm Sissy Goff.
I'm David Thomas.
And I'm Melissa Trevathan.
And we're so glad you've set aside a few minutes to spend with us today. In each episode of this podcast, we'll share some of what we're learning in the work we do with kids and families on a daily basis at Daystar Counseling in Nashville, Tennessee. Our goal is to help you care for the kids in your life with a little more understanding, a little more practical help, and a whole lot of hope. So pull up a chair and join us on this journey from our little yellow house to yours. I don't know that I have ever said this to the two of you directly, but you all are a part of mine and the Weber's extended family as Witt's godparents, which is
one of our
so
best titles.
Sweet. And I don't know that I've ever said this to you. I think probably within 3 minutes of Mom dying, Catherine was at Kathleen's house. I don't know who texted you. I don't know how you knew. And you were like
remember.
In the room. I mean, just immediately in the room. And when we were out of town traveling in this last big storm in Nashville, and Dad and Jane were at my house and the power went out, and my dad texted me and said, JT Martin and their kids have been picking up all the sticks in your yard. Like, I didn't ask you. Nothing.
That's what friends and family do.
Not everyone does that. And you all, it was why we wanted you on here. You are two of the kindest, most thoughtful, most giving, intentional people I've ever known in my entire life.
Well, thank you.
And I mean that with every fiber of my being. And it's who you are as friends that, like, I get to be a beneficiary. And I love that my sister and Aaron get to be beneficiaries. And you are so thoughtful as parents. I feel like every time I'm at your house, I'm watching you do something else that I'm like, well, that was amazing. And
I feel like we probably give you a lot of things to say, okay, let me tell you what not to do.
No, you're so thoughtful. And so it really did, as we were talking about parents in the trenches and people who we want to sit with, it's like, of course, Catherine and JT.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Thrilled to have your voices on
this. Yes, we
Yes,
are.
Thank you.
And we all talk a little bit about just your family first.
Yeah, 100%. So Catherine and I have been married 19 years next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nothing but bliss, right,
That's
babe?
Always. Every moment with you, dear. Every moment. We have 2 girls, 14 and 12, and then James is 8, and 2 dogs, 2 fish, and 5 chickens. So
That feels like that should be a song.
I know.
It does.
If you had been in here, he should have talked about that earlier. You use the Martin household.
Right. So. Yeah.
And let me just say we're balancing the scales because I just sat through an interview with 3 people who wanted to call the hogs the whole time. So I want us to break into Rocky Top right now.
There you go.
Yeah,
Big Orange.
we're balancing the scales out
That's right.
now,
Okay,
aren't
that
we?
feels fair.
It does.
We
Good
did get
statement.
engaged on the 50-yard line.
You did?
We did.
I love that about
Taking
you
our
all.
kids to almost every home game since before they were born. And we really actually started that. We love entertaining. So our very favorite thing to do is open up our house and have friends there. And we started in college. We put on our college friends' tailgates early on.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, and we do have to acknowledge one of your dogs just because I have like a proud.
Yes.
Well, we need to talk about the dog anyway, for sure, about Hope.
Yes. So we copied Sissy and Katie and got Hope. So our middle child has her very own dog, Havanese, that is Hope, and she is named after Hopetown. But as we were practicing yelling for a dog that might be running in the yard, Hopetown felt like a lot. So she got shortened to Hope. But she really we were so hopeful for what she would do in our daughter's life, and I feel like she's changed our whole family. When we got her, we had a black lab who some people don't even know because she stays away from me a lot. But Hope, we've looked at each other many times and said, why did we not do this earlier? Yeah.
And even getting her for one child.
Yes.
How did that work out? How did the other two? I love that you did that, and it really has made such a difference.
Well, Kaiser has chickens. James has fish.
Oh, there you go. So
but
it
at the
balances
time,
out.
they didn't. But we try and acknowledge with our kids, like that everybody, each one of them has their own struggles and own things that come easily and things that don't. So like everybody knew this is what our daughter needed, like everyone in the house. So, of course, like I think James was 4 or 5 at the time. So it was like, wait, why is that her dog? But now it's Sissy, there's your dog.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's so good.
Well, and that story being such a picture of the two of you right there. And when you were using words to describe them a few minutes ago, I love that you used the word intentional, because I think it's one of the first ones that comes to mind when I think about the two of you as people first and then as parents second. And just would love to ask you, what are some things early on that you decided would be important for you in raising kids?
Y'all are going to laugh when I say this, and
Can't
you
wait
may
to hear.
even know what it's going to be. But we wanted to be like students of being a parent. And we were laughing, thinking back to the early days of parenting. And anytime y'all were talking anywhere in Middle Tennessee, I was like, JT, let's go. Sissy and David are talking.
Really? I don't think I knew that. That's
and
so funny.
Like we went to Woodmont Baptist to hear y'all, and you were doing the exact same talk the next week somewhere different. And I said, JT, okay, so for next week, we're going to go to this. And he said, didn't we just hear them talk on this exact same thing? And I said, yeah, but we're going to hear something different this time.
She used
There
to
was
give
probably
me
nothing different.
Yeah, it's like me following a band around in college. She'd say, "Didn't you see them the night before?" I was like, "Yes, and I'll see them tomorrow night, hopefully."
Little did I know we'd become family.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
But really just, I feel like I have a stack of books beside my bed, beside my couch, just being a student of parenting. And then I think we quickly realized, like, becoming a student of each child. Like, our girls were often mistaken as twins growing up because they are only 21 months apart. They looked similar, same sizes. But gosh, they needed such, and still do, need such different things from us. So it was like, you couldn't be like, oh, I've figured out this parenting thing. Let me just go on autopilot. It just wasn't working like that for us. Didn't take long to realize that.
No.
Well, so we would say entitlement is one of the most concerning issues that families face today. And I feel like you all have made a lot of choices as a family to hold that off with your kids. So around holidays, you have a lot of things in practice, but a lot of practices, I feel like. So will you all each talk about something that you've chosen to do as a family?
Yeah, I mean, early on, we really adopted just the whole 3 presents, issue, even with extended
Christmas.
family at Christmas. Yes. So, it's around just, I feel like in this society of, get, that's one thing that is intentional in regards to, this is what the Bible talks about with the 3 gifts that were given from the beginning. So,
Yes.
There was a year that we got maybe a larger gift, happened to be a boat, and that's all that everyone got, which was greater than all that. And
I think that's when I first met y'all,
It may
and
have
I
been.
remember just
Yeah.
being blown away by that.
yeah. And then it was also just how the, grandparents and everyone else said, well, what else can you get? And I was like, well, you can help supply the needs of what that
We
one
need life
big gift-
jackets.
Yes, that's right. So
Yes.
So all in all, it was, I guess, intentionality around that. So
Yeah.
And I think just kind of thinking through, like, in those 3 things, like, what are needs and wants? So, for example, when we were building our house, I don't think the grandmothers were very pleased with this, but, like, they gave doorknobs to the girls because don't you want a doorknob on your door? So that was, like, one of their Christmas gifts.
I bet they were not pleased with that.
they weren't. No.
But the girls were excited. The grandmothers, not so much. But just on a daily basis, we try and help them realize, like, it takes a village to operate a house and to be a part of a family. So I think of the dishwasher. Like, the dishwasher is the thing that our kids dread being ready to unload. A few summers ago, they were all in Birmingham with JT's mom, and he sent a picture of the dishwasher saying, oh, I'm having to unload this because we just don't usually unload the dishwasher. They do.
So good.
In fact, our oldest was
Yeah, this is
babysitting
great.
for one of our youngest friends, and she came home and was telling us about it. And she said she was really proud of herself that she showed them how to unload the dishwasher. And James said, in all seriousness, like, eyes wide open, they don't know how to unload a dishwasher? I mean, it's like,
Awesome.
yeah, this is just what we do. So we try and think of ways. I mean, sometimes it's just easier if we make the bed or if we do the dishwasher,
sure.
but we repeat a lot, especially to our oldest right now. Yeah, we're looking for great adults, not happy kids. And that's unload the dishwasher.
Yes.
I love
Unload
that.
the dishwasher. Yeah.
Sissy, you know how much we rely on the Bible in our counseling work, right?
Absolutely. I don't know what I'd do without the truth of God's word to guide us every day.
Yes, but could you imagine not having access to a Bible? Could you imagine parents not having access to a Bible to help encourage them and guide their parenting?
Oh, I cannot imagine that. The Bible is one of the best tools a parent can have in their parenting toolbox. That's why I love what Crew is doing to make sure people all over the world have access to the Bible.
Cru has missionaries in almost every country on earth, and they are seeing people come to know Jesus.
But there's just one thing those people are missing, a Bible in their own language. David, I bet our listeners can meet that need.
For only $25, you can provide 3 people with Bibles each and every month. When you sign up to provide 3 Bibles with a monthly gift of $25 as a thank you, Cru will also provide meals to 15 hungry individuals through their humanitarian aid ministry. Plus, you'll receive a free copy of our book, Are My Kids on Track?
Simply text RAISING to 71326 to start helping today. Imagine just how much this gift could change someone's life. So text RAISING, RAISING, to 71326 to help now, or visit give.cru.org/raising. Message and data rates may apply. Available to U.S. addresses only.
You all, we spend a lot of time talking with families about attention hurdles, and you have faced those with one of your amazing kiddos. What have you found has made a difference, and what are some practical strategies you use as a family to help?
This one is not easy and not popular to say, and I have to look in the mirror as I say it, but not to always be in a hurry and don't overcommit them. Because I feel like, especially with our one who's really struggled with this, she needs time that she can just not have to be somewhere. And if she wants to get totally lost in distraction, that she has time to be allowed to do that.
So good.
I mean, we have 3 kids and the 2 of us, so it's not always possible to say, oh, yes, just be distracted. So I try and put systems. I work better on systems, so I do try and put some systems into place. So we have like a morning checklist that, like, teeny tiny little steps, like put on your shoes and socks, brush your teeth, little things that we found that we were having to say, have you brushed your teeth? Have you done your hair? Have you done whatever? And now we can just say, checklist. So it feels like less of a way to nag her.
I think from what I noticed, in Catherine being an early education sort of developmental study, that sort of helped, and having one and then having one 21 months later. So you saw maybe how the progression should go as a kid. But, we were noticing things that weren't similar or different, from that perspective. And I just think hit it head on early. She hit it head on extremely early, even against maybe my will. And I always said, if she wanted to take the lead on that, and she was the most capable of taking the lead on that, don't
as an
think,
educator.
yeah, well, just that, and just mom's instincts are better than dad's instincts. Just period, end of story. And it doesn't make you a bad dad. It doesn't make you less of whatever. But it's like she ran with that ball, and ultimately we circumvent, time of the intentionality around hitting it head on. And I think that she's where she is today because of early intervention and really hitting it head on, and really just knowing that it was time to seek help other than yours.
Right.
But I think also, like, the parents being on the same page with it. Like, it wouldn't have worked if I was saying, we need to be doing this, and this is a struggle, and he was saying, oh, it's just not a big deal. We did some parent-child intervention therapy with her, and the lady that we worked with looked at JT and said, I have never had a dad not miss one appointment.
Wow.
But it was like, this is important for us. And look at her now.
Yeah, and I've had friends of mine that have asked me about it, and they have a child similar to ours, and he's said the same thing. And just, I think they started it right around the same age-wise, and he's not necessarily thanked me, but just has seen the progress be so much better by starting it that much earlier. So it was just especially for her, and not that she's not come without struggles, because they've been different, but I always point to the early intervention as being something that was really a huge benefit. So.
Well, I also hear you all practically say to all of your kids, say back to me what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
When you're giving them directions, which I
no,
love.
we have to do the same. She has to do the same to me. I mean, it's no different. It's just sort of part of. Now, what did I just say? Repeat back to me.
Works well for kids, works for husbands too.
Amen.
That's right.
Hey, and I'm not above it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, then there's no question. I know you heard me, and then they can, like, think through that. I feel like just hearing it, saying it is helpful.
Yes.
One thing we didn't mention that I thought I would say, we tried to find little things that didn't necessarily make that child feel, quote, different, that weren't super noticeable.
Yes.
So, like, dinner times were a struggle for us, because she just wanted to be, like, moving all the time. And we were like, no, we're sitting down as a family. So we bought a wiggle seat and it just sat in her kitchen chair. And she was able to wiggle, but we felt like we were all having a nice family dinner because we were all sitting at the same table.
Yeah.
I've never heard of those till y'all bought one for Henry. So thank you.
Yes.
I was going to bring that up. That's
Yeah.
where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many
Such
practical
intentionality.
things. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, so in this season of the podcast, we're talking about raising emotionally strong and worry-free kids. And we would love for you to talk about your own growing up. And if you each have a story that has helped you be more emotionally strong or worry-free.
Yeah.
Your parents did with you, maybe.
Yeah, so this is probably a weird memory, but I got cut from the 7th grade basketball team, and it was probably no. That was the best thing that happened to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were
I mean, we
feeling
can.
compassionate
No.
for you.
You shouldn't be. I didn't make the 5th grade team, or the 6th grade team, or the 7th grade team, but you
Good
can
for
look,
you for keeping trying.
But you can look at me and go, I'm not meant to be a basketball player, but I'd played football before, and so my focus were better suited for me to go play football. So, and then the other memory, which again is not the greatest, is we had 2 0-10 football seasons. So my freshman and my senior year, 2 0-10 seasons, and people go, well, how is that a memory? When you lose 10 straight games, really 14 being from my junior year to and you don't quit, it molds a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. There were 15 to 17 seniors on my senior football team. And we played Riverdale, which back in the day, they were the state champs year over year and awesome. And they came into town and we only had like 40 players on our team. I had a school of 2,000, 40 players on our football team. That math doesn't work right.
No,
So 17 being seniors, 14 of them or 13 of them were hurt.
Oh, wow.
I'm not meant to be on kickoff team. FYI, I never came off the field and the 4 others didn't either. And so it's interesting when you look back about life and where those 4 are today and maybe the others. So, while those don't sound like positives in your life, they were what molded me.
What enabled you to not quit? I mean, what?
Well, my dad wasn't going to let me A.
Okay.
So
That's a great reminder.
it is.
Yeah.
100%. It's one of those things where like, I don't know how you are raised, but if you start something, you finish it. You don't get to quit midstream. Karate was one of those things. Probably because he had prepaid for me to be a black belt. Doesn't matter how long it took you or how not, but I was not going to get to quit until I made a black belt. So for the first 7 or 8 years of my life, I did karate, which, went kicking and screaming the last 4 or 5 years. But looking back on it, now James is doing taekwondo and he knows I have a black belt. And he's like, so it's
Cool dad.
it's-
Cool
yeah, I
dad.
guess,
Cool dad.
it's just,
Awesome.
so part of it is that. And then second of all is you're just not allowed to quit until it's over. So that's always stuck with me and really made me, I guess, who I am today.
And if I think of my favorite memories as a child, we went on trips a lot, but we always drove on those trips. Very different than I feel like today's world is. And my favorite time to this day is when everyone would I have one sister, and my mom and sister would be asleep in the car, and it was just my dad and I. And we would have the music going, and it was like we weren't even talking or looking at each other, but it was like just the two of us there together. Sorry, I do not mean to be
your dad has
emotional.
helped shape so much of who you are. Your mom, too.
Yes. Yeah. But I look back, that was before I knew your terms like calming strategies. And I feel like that's what that was. And I've seen it repeat in life. Like if I'm upset or worried about something, the first thing that I do is I'm turning on some music. And thinking about that, I look at each of our kids have like such a connection with music. Very different music, but I feel like it's a calm down for them, whether they can recognize that or not. They each go to sleep to music. And I'm like, it makes me think back to those times of being in the car. JT laughs sometimes because on road trips, the kids will be like, could we pull out our iPads and watch a movie? I'm like, no, we're listening to music. I'm like wanting them to have that same memory.
Yes.
But definitely, I mean, dad in general, but that's a specific, like a happy place.
Yeah. I love that. David, has Connie cooked you anything special lately in your Caraway cookware?
As a matter of fact, just the other night, she made the most amazing chicken. I think chicken just tastes better when it's made in our Caraway pan without all those toxic materials.
I agree. Food just tastes better in my Caraway cookware for sure. And with its naturally slick surface, you can use less butter and oil, which makes your food healthier too.
Not to mention making it easier to clean. Connie sure does love that about Caraway.
Visit carawayhome.com/Raising Boys and Girls to take advantage of a limited time offer for 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners. So visit carawayhome.com/Raising Boys and Girls or use code Raising Boys and Girls at checkout. Caraway, Non-toxic cookware made modern.
Okay, would you be willing to talk about your sister?
Yes, of course.
I had the great privilege, because you came out to celebrate me at my book signing, of meeting your delightful sister and
Oh.
her amazing son. And I just, as I
David,
think about
thank
your
you.
intentionality,
Yes.
Oh,
want folks to know that chapter in your story.
Yes.
You're
If
so
you would
sweet.
tell it.
It definitely has shaped who we are as a family, for sure.
Yes.
So my sister's 20 months younger than me. Obviously, one of my very best friends. We talk a million times a day. I feel like we finished each other's sentences. And she has a lot of health issues. So we decided, through God speaking through JT, to be surrogates for her. She and her husband were so grateful, and it was one of the biggest honors of my life to get to do it. I do like him a lot better on the outside of me than on the inside. But yes,
Me
he will
too.
be one on May the 4th. And it's just great. When I look at him, I just smile.
Oh,
It's wonderful.
You would have
Yeah. Thank
to.
you for asking about that.
Oh,
What
Yeah.
a gift.
it's a beautiful chapter in your story.
Mhm.
And
Thank
to
you.
Absolutely.
have known that chapter and then to meet him that day for the very first time, like I was overwhelmed and just
Oh, thank you, David.
feels like such a picture of the two of you, because your kids were how old at the time you all made that decision as a family?
Right about 2 years
I mean,
ago now.
when I was pregnant, they were 6th grade, 5th grade, and kindergarten.
Mm.
They all think that it was their own idea, but it was a hard year.
Mm.
It was a hard year.
Of
But
course.
worth
you
it.
you had been sick with every pregnancy, really
Yes.
sick for a long time, and so
Yes.
for you to have made that
The
decision,
fourth was no different.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that you chose that in
Yeah.
that season of your kids' lives.
Yeah.
And they lived that chapter
they
of
did.
your
I
story as
know.
a family will mark them forever.
Yes.
Oh.
We know that with certainty.
Yes.
So thank you for being willing
Yes,
to tell that
of
story.
course.
Let me
Yeah.
ask it.
Yeah, we're happy
And
to
it
always tell
feels
that.
like such a beautiful lead in to the next question we want to ask you, which is, what are some things that you all would say have helped make your kids emotionally strong or more worry-free?
I feel like we, through lots of y'all's help, we want them to name their worry. And my oldest, her worry monster's name is Bob.
Do you know, I have not told y'all this, but there's so many times when we're speaking in other cities that somebody will come up and say their
Oh.
kids name their worry monster Bob.
Oh,
So
wow.
Kaiser's inspired
Yes,
so many
yes.
kids all over the world.
And naming
Bob.
that, like when she might be spiraling and we can say Bob, it's like it makes her almost chuckle. Like not every time. Sometimes she doesn't like it when we mention Bob. But for example, this week, it's been a hard week.
Yeah.
And she was convinced that she was sick. She took her temperature 152
times,
times. And so we have now nicknamed it Bobette virus because that's what it was.
Wow.
So it was the Bobette virus. So just naming that worry, I'm not proud to say that it took me longer than I like to do the same back with them and to really model that. Like I felt like we were always saying, yes, let's talk about your worry. Here's the emotion chart. How are you feeling? But tried to always put on a smile ourselves. And I realized like, that's not actually helping because they're wanting to be like us and look like us.
Right.
So I feel like that's kind of a shift that we've made, trying to show them how important it is to name your worry, to actually do the same back.
I agree.
Yeah. We
I love
have
that.
John 16:33 written in our pantry. And now it's really neat because we all kind of will call each other when someone thinks they're the only person that's ever experienced something or gone through a hard time. One of the 5 of us will say, John 16:33, you will have trouble, not some people, not you
y'all
might.
love that.
So yeah, I think that helps. Even if the person doesn't want to hear it in the moment, when you then hear them saying it back to somebody, it's like it's sinking in.
Yes.
And I think for us here, for my, just this place being as ingrained in my family as it is. And I'd said this when we were with Kathleen and Aaron on Wednesday. I was like, it's just a non-negotiable line item in the budget. So it's like, this is, especially for both of the 2 olders, obviously James, but it's just a time and a place that they come that's help give them the tools that they need as they walk through, as I've always said, a hard but fair life. Today's world, especially much harder. And telling them that in today's world is like, your 14-year-old times are harder than mine. So I can't relate.
Yes.
However, we're going to do what we can to give you the tools to sort of work through that.
What a gift to them. I mean, forever that y'all are helping them learn tools and to talk and to process and all of those things.
I feel like I get, like people say, how did you know your child needed counseling? Or, maybe we need it. maybe my child needs it, but I'm not sure. And I feel like it doesn't take a crisis to get your child connected with counseling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who doesn't want someone else on your child's team?
Great statement. So thinking back on the early years of parenting, all these little people, what is something you each worried about that you wish you hadn't?
I wish I would have known which battles to pick.
Yes.
Which hill am I going to die on? She and I, when we'll have an interaction with the child one way or other, and she'll look at me as like, is that the hill you wanted to die on? You know, and for me
Love
early
to go
on, it
ask
was
each
the
other
yes,
that.
sir, yes, ma'am, this, that, and I would harp on this when that really wasn't that. So I don't want to say I've gotten better at it because I really haven't, but at least it's more conscious in my mind that like, is this what I'm going to do? Especially with a 14-year-old, which for everyone out there that has 14-year-old girls, we all know that it's hard. Nobody told you how hard it was. No, I mean, it's tough. So I think that's what I wish that I knew. It's like, pick your battles at a high level, not at a micro level.
Yes. That's a great
And
word.
also, I mean, that's, I guess, big picture, probably my same answer, but mine was more like battles in myself. Like, we didn't leave the house unless everyone's hair was done perfectly and matching bows and coordinating outfits. And I wanted the house to always be clean. So I was going to pick up rather than play a game on the floor. And just that constant to-do list, which it's like a constant struggle. But I think of when we were at Sissy's lake house after her mom passed away and them retelling stories and talking about her mom just being on the floor, playing with them. And it was like, yeah, they're not talking about how clean the house was or how cute their outfits were or, you know, how many compliments they got. It was about the relationship building. Wish that I'd realized that earlier.
Along those lines, what is one statement you wish someone had said to you early in the parenting journey?
I'm scared to have this recorded because I feel like JT is going to replay it for me. But take a break. And it doesn't make you a bad mom to say I need a break. I wish right now that it was easier for me to listen when he says, you need a break. We're going out of town or we're going to dinner. And you're not going to think about the logistics of the kid's schedule or who might need what from you.
And I think for me, it was actually said to me by her dad, ironically, focus on your spouse. They're there first. There's an intermediate part where there's others around. And then the back end of life, it's just the two of you. So her dad used to tell a story that he apparently used to tell them. But it was like, if we're out in the middle of an ocean and we have a boat and we all get kicked out of the boat, you all need to know that I'm going to get in the boat first. Then I'm going to get your mother and make sure she's dry, comfortable, you know, everything else. And then I'm going to think about getting you all on the boat. And the kids need to know that's really the pecking order. And so that's just what I just say is, you know, focus on your spouse because you could wake up in 20 years, 25 years, I've seen it firsthand, to where you look up and you're like, who are you? And then she's looking at me going, who are you? And that's not what life's meant to be. You know, it's meant to start young and grow old, and I'm going to die before she is, so she's going to have to take care of me. So that's what I think is the most important, that I wish, you know, focus on your spouse.
I love that story about your dad.
Me too.
So, you know, obviously we're talking about feelings around here a lot and the importance of having truth that is a ballast for when we're feeling a lot. And so for the two of you, what would you say is a truth? You've said a lot already, but a truth that helps you worry less as a parent.
I mean, for us, you're always the harshest critic on your kid. So you're the ones that are going to critique the most, whether they close the door the right way or this or that. And I think we were at church the other day and I heard just somebody come up and say, she's just so great. Every time I see her, blah, blah, blah. And it was about the time where I was ready to pull my hair out about it. So it's like one of those things to where they're going to show us their worst sides. And that's because they're the most comfortable. I mean, I act out worse towards her when we're at home because that's where you're the most comfortable. And, you know, just to know that they're their best not around you. And I hear, and y'all have said it to us, and I'm like, no, not today. You know, give them the benefit of the doubt, not the hardest of it. And that's really where I've struggled.
Yeah.
On that.
For me, I would say surround myself with balcony friends who are like cheerleaders for us and for our kids and who pour into them. And ultimately, like, I feel like I want to put a crown on my head saying I'm their biggest cheerleader, but God is. And I feel like in the times where we are going, what else could we possibly do? It's like a little, wait a minute, I've not talked to God about this. And he actually has the ultimate hand in it. Just knowing that has to give us comfort.
Yes.
Because we can't do it on our own without him or without our balcony friends.
Yes. Amen.
Okay, we end every episode with something fun and food related. So 2-part question, queso or guac, and then what's your favorite kind of taco?
Both. Queso and guac.
Same here.
Yes.
We are great with that answer.
Yes, 100% both. And then favorite taco, I can give a plug to one of my 0-10 football teammates of that year, Will Newman and Edley's. The brisket tacos at Edley's.
Oh, I've not had those. I've heard about them.
They're my favorite.
My favorite taco is going to be anyone that my stove is broken so we get to eat with Sissy and Kathleen and Aaron. Especially Aaron's cooking.
Yes,
his
100%.
chicken tacos. I still think about those.
Yes,
100%.
they're so good.
They are.
So the backstory, I don't know if you know the story about me, but the backstory to that is when I was growing up, we had friends that lived across the street from us named the Longs, who were this big family, and Paula is my second mom, and her kids were just my siblings growing up. And my mom did not love to cook. My dad traveled a ton. And so Mom, every time that Dad would go out of town, it was just Mom and me. And so we would go over and eat with the Longs, this fun, loud, chaotic, delightful family. And we were sitting there probably the 37th time we had dinner at the Longs. And Ryan, their youngest, came over and said, Miss Goff, is your stove broken again? And so it became a thing with our families where my mom would call Paula and say, our stove's broke, we're heading over. And we would walk over. So we told Catherine that a while back. And so now we'll call each other and say, our stove's broke, we're coming over for dinner. Let's go to dinner.
Well, I mean, like full circle, like just balcony friends, it feels like on those days where you're like, I do not want what we've meal prepped or even just the 5 of us. I need to be around some other people.
Yeah.
And it always works out.
Yes.
I get why folks would want the 2 of you to be their people.
Absolutely.
I sure
Isn't
do.
that the truth, y'all? Thank you.
Thank
you
y'all.
for sharing
Thank
the
y'all.
truth
To
and
have
being
you
who
with
you
us.
are. Yeah.
It's been fun.
We love you
Thank
guys.
you.
Love y'all.
It's our joy to bring the experience and insight we gain through our work beyond the walls of the Daystar house.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to click the follow button in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. To learn more about our parenting resources or to see if we're coming to a city near you, visit our website at raisingboysandgirls.com.
Join us next time for more help and hope as you continue your journey of raising boys and girls.